Steve Bone is in the wings, but we want him centre stage. Steve, good day, and what's highest on your fine mind?
Well, we're between reflections on the Southampton game, aren't we, last Sunday, and looking ahead to two, kind of in a way even bigger games than that. Because if you take away the derby element of last weekend, as the games go by now, with our situation near the bottom three, you're not in the bottom three, luckily. The crunch games get bigger and bigger, don't they? Get more crunchy, if you like. And actually, I was thinking after the Southampton game. I don't know if this is. I don't know if everybody felt like this, but you kind of, because of all the narrative to that game, you kind of forgot that was an important championship game because of our situation, didn't you? For a while, it was almost as though that was separate to the rest of the league campaign. It mattered, and it mattered whether we won, drew, or lost, but it didn't seem to matter as much in the context of the relegation situation and the table. Does that make sense?
It does, and I thought that John Messino looked a little bit more relaxed than normal because it wasn't a normal three-pointer. There was something else about it. You're quite right.
Yeah, it was almost like a cup, not quite like a cup tie, but that sort of feel where it's you can sort of park the whole league situation and the campaign and the worries just to concentrate on that game. And I enjoyed it. I mean, the main thing in the end was that we didn't lose, because when you go 1-0 down at home to your rivals like that, you don't want it to finish like that. That would have ruined everybody's week, if not their season. So to get back as we did, equalise, enjoyed the goal, enjoyed the celebrations, and I thought we were probably the most likely to win it after that. I thought if it had gone on another 10 minutes, we might have nicked it. And so an enjoyable occasion really, and it makes you hope that we can have another one next season against them. Actually, there'll be Pompey fans that not that it looks like we're going to stay up and they're going to go down. I don't think that's going to happen. Don't think they're going to go down. Don't think we are either, by the way. But it doesn't look like they're going anywhere this season. So I think there's every likelihood that it will take place again next season. It's a shame it's not on a Saturday afternoon, or you can have those sort of arguments about it. But still a good occasion. Whatever day and time you put it on, it's going to be a good occasion. It's going to be intense as it was last Sunday.
Penny's just dropped with me that when he scored that goal, the equaliser, he ran down your way, didn't he? Ran up to you almost. Did you know it was him who'd scored?
No, I didn't. No, in the chaos of the goal going in, I'm a fair way from the Milton end. Couldn't really see who had done what to get that ball over the line. And it was only when Adams sort of peeled away on his own and came running down to the Fratton end, right in front of us actually, on the north lower, and did his salute to the Fratton end. We thought, right, he wouldn't have done that if he hadn't been the one to get the goal. And I think there was an element of him thinking that he maybe needed to do that because their fella who scored ran down that same touchline to go up to their fans to celebrate. Made the most of it, didn't he? And you can't blame him. If that had been one of our players doing the same for us, if we'd been the away team, we'd have applauded him heartily, I'm sure. So it's all part of the derby fun. But yeah, I thought Adams was excellent, man of the match, wasn't he? I think for most people, a good addition at a good time. To be able to bring him in just before a game like that, and to pitch him into a game like that, I think he revelled in it, and we benefited from it. And I hope we'll see more of him and more of that from him over the rest of the season. So yeah, an enjoyable day, but now we kind of need to move on from it, don't we? And on to the next one, another 2 home games to come.
Does a club like Pompey allow or choose to allow the adrenaline, the rush of blood and confidence that you ought to be able to take from a performance like that into the next 2, 3, or hopefully even more games? Or is, West Brom just a brand new chapter in Pompey's season?
That's interesting. I think we'll find out on Saturday, really. You'd like to think that the players and fans could sort of bottle some of that intensity from Sunday and keep on using it. I heard someone say, and I can't remember now who it was, that if the atmosphere was like that at every home game, we'd probably we'd win a lot more than we lose, over the rest of the season. The fact is, it's not going to be. You can't manufacture that sort of atmosphere in a game that doesn't mean as much. But certainly, because it's still fresh in the mind, I think you can hope for some of that to be carried forward into the West Brom game. West Brom is such a six-pointer, isn't it, to use that cliche, that I think you need to use some of that. West Brom, like Southampton had a I mean, I thought they were pretty quiet, but they had good numbers down there. West Brom, I think, are going to bring a couple of thousand. They do tend to make a bit of a noise. They've got a very good away following. They've had some big days out down here in the past, so Pompey fans will need to be on it as well as the players on Saturday. But yeah, as the games go by, you know, the derby and everything around it gets forgotten, doesn't it? As other games sort of take centre stage. But we certainly showed some of the sort of fighting spirit in that game. I mean, at one stage it was literally fighting spirit, wasn't it? Over by the north touchline when Swanson and the other fella had a few handbags and everybody else joined in. All good fun. But you need that spirit to be there, whoever we're playing. Never mind if it's just Southampton. We need that to be there when we're playing Ipswich and Hull and Sheffield United and everybody else.
Yeah, I understand we're on a charge for that melee or fracas or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, I think both sides are, aren't they? Failing to control your players, and probably a bit of punishment coming for were there two separate pitch invasions? There was certainly one, wasn't there? There was the chap who had all the time. He had more space on Fratton Park than some of our sort of forward players, would have liked.
He took up a lot of space himself, the lad.
He did, and the stewards were not quick to go and stop him, were they? I think they knew which direction he was going in, so they thought, right, when he gets here, we're going to stop him and cart him off, which is what they did. So I think we're going to get into a bit of trouble for that as well. Hopefully the punishment will be in keeping with things and not we won't be made an example of. There could have been a lot more trouble, couldn't there? It was very heavily policed and probably have to say well policed. No trouble outside the ground that I know of, or anywhere else in the city, which is what you'd expect from the bubble situation. If you're going to confine the away fans as they do now.
I think, thinking politically, I'm cautious that since the melee started on the touchline, and one or two fans, several actually, who were almost certainly Pompey fans, took it on themselves to get slightly physically involved, although it was a nasty foul on Swanson. It was Swanson who said, "Yeah, mate, have some of that back." And then there was the melee, and then there were fans getting involved. And I think if the FA look at that, we could be in for a bigger fine than them.
Maybe, yeah. That's they've got all the camera angles, haven't they? So they'll have a look at it. They'll see who did what. There could be one or two fans from down there who are in a bit of trouble with the club. You
can tell a lot about players from what they do when there's a melee. You either stand there where you are with your hands on your hips and watch it going on, or you trot over. You never go steaming over, you shouldn't. You can trot over, and Nicholas Schmidt did. He trotted over and he grabbed hold of one of the bigger Southampton players who was on the edge of the melee and pulled him away. I can't remember who it was, but I remember him swinging round, having been grabbed and realising it must be somebody from Pompey, the way they were doing it. And then he looked up and saw that the bloke who was pulling him off was 6'5", and he sort of went, yeah, fair enough.
Yes, yeah, you have little splinter bits of trouble break out, don't they? When there's a main clash between two, more and more get involved. If three or four more players then get involved, that leads to another 3 and 4 and another 3 and 4, doesn't it? And you can sort of see how it's going to unfold. Now, by the way, I just want to mention there was a brilliant piece written about the derby, which I thought summed it up from a written by a neutral, written by Daniel Storey. I don't know if you saw it. He's the chief football writer of the I paper and I News website. He went to the derby, having been told by numerous people that it was the most intense and one of the best derbies going, better than Liverpool, Everton, Spurs, Arsenal and everything else, and he came away not disappointed. He said it had everything that he'd hoped it would and more, and there were things that went on that on the day that you can't condone, but at the same time you don't want to condemn. That is part of the. There were trouble spots, and there was hatred, and there were threats, and all of that, and it happens. You can't stop it. It happens because of the way the fixture has evolved over the years. But if anyone gets a chance, look up as I say, Daniel Storey, the I paper, and he breaks it down into the hatred, the history, the ground, the weather. Even the weather, he says, was perfect for it because it was a bit of rain around, made the pitch a bit quicker, made the tackles fly in that little bit more combatively. So all a good bit of theatre.
Absolutely. You're quite right about the man of the match, but there are quite a few others who would be mentioned in dispatches.
Yes, Swanson would be one. Devlin. I mean, the whole defence. When you consider that we ended up, I think, with 4 fullbacks in defence, didn't we? Yep. We had fullbacks playing as fullback and fullbacks in the middle as well. I thought they all did really well. Ogilvie, he's not going to let you down in a situation like that. But Boat did well as well. Devlin rose to the occasion as you'd have expected. Like the look of Ali. That was my first sort of proper look at him in a home game. I think he's got something to offer us. Likes to get a cross in, doesn't he? Like reminds me of Murphy in a little way, in that when he gets the ball, he's thinking immediately, right, what's my best chance of getting a cross in? Do I cut in and play it in from there, or do I try to beat the man on the outside and whip it in? So he's a good addition. And I thought Bishop, actually, but people have different opinions about Bishop. People are looking at his goal record and saying he's being paid to score goals and he's not doing it. I do think he's playing well at the moment. I think he offers us a lot of unsung work he's getting through. He's doing a lot of running. He's making it uncomfortable for defenders. He's creating a bit of space for some of those attackers to run into. And he's probably worth the armband at the moment. I think in what he's doing. When he was first made captain, I thought, it's a funny choice as captain. I'd generally rather have a central midfielder or a defender as captain. I think most people would see that. But actually, I think he's probably, to have retained the captaincy for as long as he has. I think John Messino must see certain qualities in him, and I do think he's delivering. Of course, he needs goals. We're all desperate for him to score goals, even if it's just sort of 1 every 3 games or something like that. If he could start doing that, brilliant. But I do think he's earning his place in the side at the moment, and I do think, just on that, if we do buy another striker before the transfer window closes next Monday, I think we need to be careful about assuming that we need to swap the new man in and Bishop out, because I do think you'd lose something from the way we play if you took Bishop out of that starting 11. And we've seen it actually a few times this season when he's not started. We don't look quite the same force, I don't think. So that's one to ponder.
Absolutely. He holds the ball up well, of course. He wins so many headers.
He does.
When Schmidt picks him out, and Schmidt has got such a good eye for a 60-yard pass to
doesn't he? Yeah.
Bishop. And but Bishop also, he presses right across the front line, doesn't he?
He does actually, yeah. And where you haven't got Lang doing that at the moment, hopefully we're not going to lose Lang to Preston. Hopefully he'll be back in our team soon. Last season we had Ritchie doing that. Bishop is actually, I think he's taken on a bit more of the pressing duties than perhaps he had last season in doing that. And yeah, I think John Messina has gone on record as saying he was out on his feet after that Southampton game, which you can understand. But having said that, I'm sure he'll be back. He's not a player who wants a rest, and he doesn't seem to be a player that the manager thinks needs a rest. So I think he'll be back out there against West Brom Saturday.
Okay, here we are in the last week of the transfer window, so inevitably it's important that we get your thoughts about what's happened so far and what you know is being speculated about that may happen in the next 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. I think so far the 3 we brought in are good additions. I think, as ever, people would like us to have done more. They'd like us to have spent more. So, some people would like us to have spent more even without knowing what we're spending it on, just so as we could say we've spent more. I think Adams, Ali, and Anderson. They're easy to remember, aren't they? Because they all start with the same letter of the alphabet. I think those 3 are all good additions. At the moment, you'd say Adams is the number 1 buy, and Ali is number 2. But then we haven't seen much of Anderson yet, so let's give him a chance as well. We saw a few glimpses on Sunday, didn't we? But not enough to judge just yet. There's another A-star arrival possibly coming. There's a lot of talk today, Thursday, as we're talking now, about a Sunderland and former West Ham defender, Aji Alisi, and you'll have to forgive me if that's not the right pronunciation.
Well, it begins with A, so it can't be all bad.
Exactly. Pompey are apparently closing in on him, as teams like to do. It's one of the phrases, isn't it? The stock phrases. Closing in on a deal for Alisi. There we go. I've given him 2 different pronunciations in 10 seconds there, so I'm not sure what chance anybody else has got.
Well, I'm going to go with Alisi as a failed disc jockey. I always used to get the artists who made a song called O'Laurie
I remember.
incorrect,
yes.
And that was the Alisi brothers, as I remember. So
yes,
you can trust me to get it wrong.
We'll go for that. Well, it's spelled Alese, so I think you've got a fair chance here. So this is a 25-year-old who, and you'll shudder when you hear this, has had a lot of injury problems over the past couple of years. Said to be a very good player, good prospect, but he's only just returned after quite a long time out with a broken leg. So he's at Sunderland, played a lot at under 21 level, but is still sort of finding his way back. A bit surprising in a way that Pompey are, given their own record, particularly with centre halves, that they're looking at a player of that type, who's got a bit of an injury record behind him. You'd think they'd want to play a bit more on the safe side and go with someone who's never missed a game in his life, but there aren't many of players like that around, I suppose. And John Messina, he's been weighing up how many more defenders he needs, I think, because when it looked like Shaughnessy was going to be out long term again, I think they were thinking, with Bowett's injury problems that he's had, with Knight and Matthews out, and now with Poole having picked up a bit of tightness, I think he was looking at bringing in another 2 centre halves. They're now saying Shaughnessy could be back end of Feb, which is a bonus, which is good news if it's true, if it happens. So I think they're probably only now looking to bring in 1 more centre half, which seems sensible because we have got, as we've seen in recent weeks, we've got other cover there. You've got Ogilvie can step in, and we now know that Swanson actually can do a bit of a job there. That we did really well there on Sunday. So Elise could be the next one through the door, but John Messina, when asked in the last 24 hours how many more we're likely to see come in, has said could be anything between 1 and 6 more. I'd be amazed if we get another 6 in before Monday. He's also said if we get another 2 in on top of the 3 we've already got, that's not bad. Another 3 in, he thinks would be a very good month for us. I mean, as ever, depends who they are, doesn't it? If you get a couple of world beaters in, everybody will be happy and we'll be flying again.
Yeah.
If you get a couple of sort of 18-year-olds who have never played in the Football League, then that's not quite the same value. I mean, if we were not to get anyone else in before the end of January, but also not to lose anyone else, I still think we've got enough to stay up. Other people will disagree with that, but I think you look at the form of the last couple of months, we are picking up results.
Yeah.
We're not we're not free falling like a couple of clubs down near us are. But at the same time, we don't want to risk sticking with what we've got and not strengthening anymore and hoping for the best. If there are players to be brought in now for the short term or or for longer term in some cases, then let's get them in, just make sure we're nowhere near the bottom three come the last couple of weeks of the season.
Just to get specific, what did you make of the Reagan Pool 24 hours? Because John Messina said that he was limping, finding it difficult to walk on the Friday. And then I got a text from you at 5 to 3 saying that he was out there on the bench, but he was warming up.
Yeah, it was strange, wasn't it? I think when I saw that he was on the bench rather than starting, my thought was, I wonder if he's been ill. I wonder if it's some sort of sickness bug had been going around. Because then you could, you might not want to play someone if they're not feeling 100%, but you might just have them there to come on for 10 minutes and play through the sickness and whatever and do a job. But if he'd been an injury concern and he'd had that much of an injury on the Friday that he was ruled out of the game, and then I think on the Saturday they decided what to do to cover him put Swanson in there. I'm surprised he was on the bench, really, and I'm surprised he was out there warming up. So I think it was probably just a fairly minor niggle that he must have had. He must have said he felt okay to go out and do the warm up. For all we know, he might have been telling the manager he was fit to play, but the manager just didn't want to risk it. Players generally do, don't they? If a game like that, you would think a player would want to take a little risk to be involved in it. But I suppose Paul himself has had injury problems, hasn't he? He was out for 2/3 of the 23-24 season, wasn't he, with the ACL?
Yeah.
So again, he's another player that you don't want to force the issue too much. You want to give him a chance to recover properly from things. Be interesting to see whether he's back out there this weekend. Might be a bit too soon for him. Other players have shown they can come in and do a job there, haven't they? You wouldn't worry too much if Swanson and Boat or Swanson and Ogilvie was the pairing again. So yeah, a funny one that with Paul.
The team that ended up out on the pitch for the bulk of the game there wasn't one of them over 6 foot tall, I don't think. You usually have a couple of 6'4" centre halves and often a 6'2" or 3-4" centre forward. But I think that's about the shortest in terms of height Pompey side I can remember, and yet we scored from a corner.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I think Adams is a good, although he's not the tallest, but he's a good presence in both boxes for that sort of situation. Anderson looks like in the attacking sense he might be as well. He's got a bit of bulk about him as well. Again, not the tallest, but it comes with strength as well as height, doesn't it? But yeah, I suppose when you've got Segicic and Chaplin out there, you notice that they are shorter than the average player in the Championship by some distance, aren't they? And I think when you've got a couple of them buzzing around you, it makes your team maybe look a little bit shorter on average than they are.
And yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Connor Ogilvie, who is not a giant, lose an aerial one-on-one.
I think you're right. I don't think he does he? And you could say the same about Terry Devlin, actually.
Yeah.
Who's probably not much taller than Chaplin or Segicic, and he doesn't lose too many in the air either, does it? So it's not just a player's height is not the only thing to measure by. But at the same time, if we were to sign a couple of 6'5" players in these last few days of the window, you'd probably be quite happy with it, wouldn't you? Because it does sometimes feel that's the sort of thing that is an area that we're a little bit short in. I was going to say, didn't mean the pun there, but so many other teams in this Championship have half a dozen 6'2" plus, don't they? and
Oh yes.
We don't really have any, and now we've lost Shaughnessy for a few weeks. We kind of feels that is an area of concern.
I got a text from the Messino family a couple of days ago. They're out down under, and they were taking a communal bungee jump, which, being Australia, is like the bungee jump from hell.
I suppose it is. Yeah.
They sent me the video of the looks on their faces as they were waiting to go on it, and I texted back. I said, "That's going to set you up because we've got a test of nerves coming over the next few months at Fratton Park." So, you'll be all battle hardened for that. But it is going to be an interesting final third of the season, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it is for almost as it was last year. Almost every team in the Championship is either looking to see if they can get into the playoffs, or they're looking over their shoulder thinking, could we get sucked into the bottom three? I mean, you look at the table as it stands as we speak now. Pompey are just outside the relegation zone on 30. 6 points up from us is Swansea, who are 16th. You go another 6 points up from them and you're into the top 10. You're up to Preston and Stoke around 9th and 10th. So it's still very tight, it's very condensed. If we can just keep churning out the home wins that we have been getting, maybe the odd away point here and there, then we can stay on the right side of that line. But the chances are we're not going to know. We're going to go into the final month of the season not being safe by then. I would think, along with a lot of other sides, and there'll still be nerves to be shredded after that point for us and quite a few others as well. Wouldn't want it to be dull anyway, would we? It wants to be mid-table all season.
No, I used to say to Aston Villa fans, why? What's the point? You never go down. You never win anything. Year in, year out.
It's like some of these teams in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the Brightons and Brentfords.
Exactly.
They're not going to go down, but they're not going to finish in the top four.
Where's the adrenaline?
Yeah. It's the Championship is the Championship relegation zone is the bungee jump of football.
Yes.
There's a bit of peril in there just to add to the excitement.
Feel free to tell me that I'm reading too much into this, but during the week I saw John Messino saying that fans are frustrated with the lack of spend, the lack of big names coming in for several million quid. He said, but once we've established ourselves in the Championship, which might take a season or two, then the money will start to materialise to build on that. So I found myself thinking, this is an interesting situation. It's a very volatile job being a Championship manager. You usually only last about 20 minutes. And yet here he is, I suspect, already looking at junior schools for his toddler children in the South Sea area.
Yeah. When he talks like that, it sounds like he's thinking he's going to be here. He's going to be the man to establish us in the Championship. I've also seen some people look at interviews he's given where he's talked. I think he also said, he's talking about Pompey existing or getting by and staying up on one of the lower budgets in the Championship. Don't know if it's the lowest, but it's certainly one of the bottom 6 budgets, I would think. And people have seen him now starting to talk about. He's not been that specific, but he's talked about how the budget challenges have been the same since we got promoted, and people have thought, well, is he saying that? Is he getting fed up with it? Is that a message to the owners to start spending more now rather than leave it and risk going back down? So you can see both ways really. He must want a little bit more to play with. I'm sure he does. Every manager does, don't they?
Yeah.
Like Harry Redknapp in the old Pompey days when he used to be spending millions on players. He got them in, and then he'd go to Milan and say, "Well, do you think we could just do a one more £2 million player?"
Yes.
Never quite happy with what you've got, are you? If John Messino were to leave because he felt his hands were tied behind his back in the budget, I think there would be major questions for the owners to answer. But maybe he John is fully aware of what the budget is now, what it's going to be next year, and he sees that as a challenge and one that he wants to stick with. And if you can do that as a manager, if you can operate on that sort of budget and be successful, relatively successful in terms of keeping Pompey up and gradually improving the league position, then your stock is going to be high, isn't it?
He's on a win-win situation. If he was given 50 million quid to spend and we didn't get promoted, say, or at least we weren't even in the top 6, that would make him look bad. But if he can keep us going on bargain basement buys, makes him look even better, doesn't it? We've almost run out of time, so we must get your prediction, your soothsayer's genius for the West Brom game, which people will be listening to after the game. So you're going out on a limb, but off you go.
Well, I'm going to go for another double here because we are playing Saturday, Tuesday. So the sensible thing, the thing that would make sense would be for Pompey to beat West Brom, make the most of a game against them while they're in bad form, and then maybe get a point against Ipswich. Far too sensible for Pompey. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're going to draw with West Brom, drop 2 points if you like, and we're going to beat Ipswich next Tuesday, because that would be a very Pompey thing to do. So I'm going to go to pin that down a little bit more. I'm going to go 0-0 against West Brom. Sorry, that's not going to get people flocking to the game, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 win against Ipswich to make up for it.
Okay. Both of those are worth a bet, but don't bet with anything you can't afford.
Please bet responsibly.
Bet responsibly, yes. I've always said that if I made my own beer, I would call it responsibly.
Yes, drink responsibly.
You got it in one.
Yeah, we're on to something. Yeah.
All right, Steve. As ever, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And your genius.
Thank you. Look forward to the next one.
Cheers.